Join me as I visit my grandmother and the legacy of my late grandfather, one of Vietnam's first elite pilots who faced life and death dogfights to protect the sky we see today. My grandmother's house in the countryside isn't like the ones you see in romantic movies. It's a simple, sturdy, flat roof house, the kind you'd find in any typical Vietnamese village. There is no ancient moss or poetic architecture. There's only the profound stillness of a family growing old with the passing years. As I step inside, the faint scent of medicated oil and incense fills the air. My grandmother is very frail now. After a lifetime of hard work, she can only sit quietly on the wooden bed in the central room. She doesn't speak much anymore, but her eyes brighten the moment she sees me leading my daughter toward her. "Grandma, I'm home." I gently take her thin, weathered hand. She looks at her great-granddaughter, a gentle but weary smile appearing on her lips. In the city, I was so used to hurried phone calls. Now, standing by her bed, I realize the true value of simply being here. I lead my daughter to my grandfather's altar. This is the most sacred place in the house, where our family's pride is kept. Among the incense burners and flickering candles lies a small wooden box containing bright red medals and black and white photos that have yellowed over time. Both my grandparents were part of the resistance war against the U.S. They belong to a generation of steel, those who sacrificed their youth so we could have the peace we enjoy today. I lift my grandfather's first-class resistance medal to show my daughter. Her eyes widen as she looks at the tiny stars sparkling on the red fabric. I begin to tell her the story of our family's hero. "You know," I whisper to her, "Grandpa was one of Vietnam's very first pilots. During the harshest years of history, he was one of the few elite youths selected by the state and sent to China, and later the Soviet Union, to learn how to fly. Imagine a young man leaving his village, traveling thousands of miles to master giant machines in the sky. He belonged to the first class of pilots, the pioneers of our young Air Force. After completing his training abroad, he returned to fly transport planes during the war. His missions weren't flashy dogfights, they were silent flights through barrages of anti-aircraft fire, transporting food, weapons, and the wounded to the battlefields in the south. I show her a photo of him standing next to an old transport plane. He looked so young then, full of ambition and showing no fear. Every flight was a brush with death, but he kept flying because behind him were his family, his homeland, and his wife waiting in this small house. I pick up a photo of him in his flight suit, my finger gently touching the dust-blurred glass. "You know, honey," I tell my daughter, my voice dropping low, "Grandpa didn't just fly planes. He survived battles where the line between life and death was as thin as a sheet of paper. During the years of confronting the U.S. Air Force, one of the most powerful forces in the world, his transport planes were heavily hunted. He recounted countless times when he faced modern enemy fighters head-on in the burning skies of central Vietnam. On some flights, the clouds were thick and anti-aircraft fire rose like rain. He was once chased by U.S. jets with bullets tearing through the metal hull of his defenseless transport plane. During a high-stakes mission, his plane was hit hard, and the engines erupted in flames mid-air. Every medal on this altar is more than just a title. It is proof of the times he escaped the clutches of death. It carries the frantic breath in the cockpit and the chilling cold of the forest nights he endured to survive." I look at my daughter, then at Grandma lying quietly on her bed. She waited for him through all those parachute jumps, through all those life and death flights. The stillness in this house today was paid for by the roar of engines and the ruthless battles above the clouds back then. Watching my daughter touch his photo, then looking at Grandma, I suddenly understand the true purpose of this return. 12 years in Hanoi, I was too obsessed with building a future that I forgot my roots. I want my daughter to grow up not just with technology, but knowing the blood that flows through her veins. She must know that the freedom she has was traded for by Grandpa's death, defying flights and Grandma's long years of waiting. Living on a $5 a day budget in this house isn't a step backward, it's a connection. When I cook a simple bowl of rice for my daughter, when I sit by Grandma's bed, I feel I am living a life more meaningful than ever before. We close a box of medals. I lead my daughter out to the yard, looking up at the clear blue sky of Ninh Binh. 12 years ago, I left this place to find wealth. 12 years later, I return to find that true wealth lies right here at this altar, in Grandma's eyes, and in the stories of Grandpa. He flew to protect this sky, and I have returned to protect these memories so they are never forgotten in the hustle and bustle of the world outside.
I don't know if I can find my way out. I'm stuck in a prison of doubt. In this torsion, and everything is growing up tight.
As the sun sets over the village, we gather for a simple family meal. Tonight, we have roasted duck, a treat that cost me only $7, 170,000 Vietnamese dong, to feed all five of us. In the city, this wouldn't even cover a single appetizer, but here, it's a feast. There's a special kind of seasoning you can't buy in luxury restaurants. The sound of my daughter's laughter and the quiet presence of my grandmother nearby. After dinner, I take my turn at the sink. There's something grounding about the simple act of washing dishes in the house where I grew up. My hands are busy, but my mind is still on the altar, on the pilot who survived the fire of war so that I could stand here in the cool of the evening, doing something as peaceful as this. I walk through the hallways, passing by the old, weathered walls. The paint is peeling and the patches are discolored by decades of humidity and time. To a stranger, these are just signs of an aging house. To me, these walls are silent witnesses. They saw the tears of a wife waiting for her husband to return from the sky. They felt the vibrations of a war that changed the world. And now they hold the quiet life of a man who finally understood that success isn't about building new walls. It's about coming home to the old ones. I'm Heap, and I've finally found my peace.